तव कथामृतम् तप्तजीवनम् कविभिरीडितम् कल्मषापहम् श्रवणमङ्गलम् श्रीमदाततम् भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जनाः।
ॐ तव कथामृतं तप्तजीवनं कविभिरीडितं कल्मषापहं श्रवणमङ्गलं श्रीमदाततं भुवि गृह्णन्ति ये भूरिदा जना. We are studying the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, and in the conversation of 15th Friday, 15 June 1883, and we can go back a para and pick up from there. The conversation again turned to the ideal life, to the life of the householder. So from here, we'll get something connected. Master, to the devotees, you see, by leading a householder's life, a man needlessly dissipates his mental powers. So he is enumerating the difficulties which are met with in the life of a householder. Dissipation of powers. The loss he thus incurs can be made up if he takes to monastic life. Contrast. In monastic life, this dissipation is not expected. If he is a householder, he dissipates. But if he does not want to dissipate, he should take a monastic life. Then he explains, the first birth is a gift of the Father. When we are born, that is the gift of the Father. Then comes the second birth, when one is invested with the sacred thread. So when he starts education, goes to Guru's house for learning, that is called second birth. Educated man he becomes. There is still another birth at the time of being initiated into monastic life. So if you become a sannyasi, you have third birth. And you know, in the practice, the name is changed. The old person is dead almost. You know, before sannyas, a person has to do 3 types of shraddhas. One is for his parents or ancestors who he knows have passed away. Because afterwards he cannot do. So he has to do just before sannyas. Now, parents or some ancestors may be living, and afterwards he will have no right. So in their honor, he keeps the pinda, the sacrificial food, mentally, theoretically, with Gaya Vishnu. From a Thakur was born. Na? So in Gaya there is a Vishnu temple, and that is the God in charge of all these shraddhas. So he say, oh Vishnuji, please keep this pinda, and when my father dies, you please give it to him. That is the system. Whoever are living, you name them and give it to Gaya Vishnu. Now thirdly, he will do his own shraddha. Because when he becomes a sannyasi, he does not have anybody to do shraddha for his body at least. So he does his own shraddha. That means he is dead to the world. When we had these ceremonies, we used to joke with each other that now we are ghosts. We do not have any name because that person who had that name, his Shraddha has been done. Then, when Sannyas Diksha Guru gives, then he gives a new name. So that is a new person. Till then, he does not say, such and such has become such and such has gone. He, when we go to make pranams to the Guru, he calls us by the new name. That becomes our name. So, Thakur is telling this is the third word. If you want moksha, if you want to go by Vedantic path, if you want to go to God, if you want to avoid the dissipation of energies which happens in our soldier's life, then you have to take third birth. Initiated into monastic life. Now, what is the problem actually in our soldier's life? Why dissipation of energies? The two obstacles to spiritual life are woman and gold. We have already seen several times the desire for enjoyment, desire for means of enjoyment. Attachment to woman diverts one from the way leading to God. If he wants to enjoy the woman, he is attached to that woman and he has to do many things to meet her desire. And so he is going towards God. And if the woman tells do this or do that, he has to divert his mind. That is dissipation of energy. Man doesn't know what it is that causes this downfall. So gradually, this leads to downfall, goes away and away and away. But he does not know. It is very gradual. He does not understand. Now, to explain that, he is showing once while going to the fort in Calcutta, Maidan, there is an underground fort. I couldn't see at all that I was driving down a sloping road. So he was going by Gadi. So he was going by horse carriage. But when the carriage mentioned here, but when the carriage went inside the fort, I realized how far down I had come. Maybe 7 stories or 4 at least. Alas, women keep man deluded. They do not understand. Women say do this or do that or please or this or that, and he deludes the man. Captain says, Captain was a great devotee, Nepal government's agent in Calcutta, and Thakur used to call him Captain. So this captain says, my wife is full of wisdom. So he obeys the wife and says that she is full of wisdom. So we do not understand where we are being diverted. The man possessed by a ghost does not realize it. So it is like being possessed by a ghost. You are not functioning by your own will. He says, why? I am all right. So that is the example of dissipation of energy. Now, the devotees listen to these words in deep silence because everybody introspected and found that these things are true. And so they were stunned and kept quiet and started introspecting. Now, today's portion, Master, it is not lust alone that one should be afraid of in the life of the world, householder's life. Not only lust, then there is also anger. Kam, Krodh. What is that anger? Anger rises when obstacles are placed in the way of desire. So desire unfulfilled or desire obstructed, Krodh, anger. Now, M. Some very wonderful thing is coming. M. At mealtime, sometimes a cat stretches out its paw to take the fish from my plate, but I cannot show any resentment. So, no anger. Master Masha tried to show that he has no anger. And so he used this example. Think, is it no anger or is it something else? Master says, why? You may even beat it once in a while. So this is not no anger. This is tamasic. This is tamogun, inertia. You must be able to discriminate. So what Master Masha quoted as the example of no anger in his life, Thakur said, why? You could have hit him once in a while. Means not every day. Once in a while you feed him, it will not come. Taking fish from your plate and you are allowing that, it is not sign of no anger. Remember, practical life, things appear similar, they are not same. Sometimes a man is carried away by something, somebody, and he says, I love. My Guruji would say, it is not love, it is foolishness. So this comes under the same category. Either you call it tamogun or foolishness, absence of proper judgment. Important point. Every day we meet some very important points, and this anger was not dealt with up till now. A worldly man should hiss, but he shouldn't pour out his venom. Now, this hissing and venom, this referred to a story which in Master Masha's third or fourth visit Thakur had told. Remember? So we have to remember the whole story here. Many people have joined new, otherwise also, because very little reference has been given here. But what is this hissing? So the story goes like this. There was a venomous snake in field. So when the boys used to play there, they were afraid of his biting them. So people stopped going that way. Now a brahmachari was coming and he was going that way. So the boys told, sir, do not go that side, there is a venomous snake. He said, don't care because I have a mantra. The snake will not do anything to me. So when he went ahead, the snake came and the person chanted a mantra, the snake became quiet. And then the person said, why you are doing this hinsa? I will give you a mantra. You should not do hinsa and you chant this mantra. So the snake accepted. And the man said, I will come again. And he went away. That brahmachari. Then snake thought, he stopped disturbing the boys. So after some days, the boys found that he is very, very quiet. He will not hit us. So they went and lifted him, whirled him, and hit him on the ground. So all his bones were broken, and he somehow went to his hole. And then, afraid of the boys, only in the night he would come out and eat whatever is available. As a result, his health completely broke down. He became like a skeleton. After 1 year, boys thought that he is dead. After 1 year, the brahmachari came his way and they asked about his snake, and the boys said that he is dead. But the brahmachari thought the mantra he had given had to be successful. So unless he succeeds in that mantra, he would not die. So he called him by a special name which he had given him. Like we get new name in sannyas. So in his spiritual initiation, he had given him a new name. So he called him by that name. He came out. Then he said, why you have become so weak? Because he had become sattvic, he had forgotten even that event of the boy is eating him. So he said, no, because you have told me ahimsa, so I eat only dry leaves. Brahmachari said that cannot be the cause of your bad health. Remember something? So he remembered and told that you had told me not to injure anybody. So the boys did not know and they hit me like this. Then the brahmachari said, what is this foolishness? You could have hissed to show anger and that you can still attack them. I told you not to bite. That does not mean you should not hiss. That is the reference here. So a householder should hiss. That means show some tamogun, show resentment, so that the other party will not take a wrong advantage. That he is telling here, that this is foolishness, not hitting that cat. A worldly man is a householder here. A householder need not be worldly always. A householder should hiss, but he shouldn't pour out his venom. He must not actually injure others. But he should make a show of anger to protect himself from enemies. Now, at this point, otherwise they will injure him. But a sannyasi need not even hiss. So sannyasi says, I give abhay, fearlessness to entire world. Nobody need be afraid of me because I do not have any selfish end. So the rules, the mental conduct rules also are different from a householder and sannyasi. Big gap. In this context, I remember a Swami Vivekananda's conversation. Somebody said if somebody comes to injure or actually injures us, what should we do? Swamiji immediately said, no reaction. And after a pause, he said, for the sannyasi, householder has to react. If he hits you one slap, you give him 10 slaps. Now, in this context, we remember so many things. It is wrongly well known that Jesus Christ taught that if somebody hits you on one cheek, you give him the other cheek also. It is wrong. He told it to his sannyasi disciples, as just now Thakur is telling for sannyasi. He did not tell it to all. It is found in the Sermon on the Mount. And the Sermon on the Mount starts like this. Seeing a multitude, he went up a hill. That means he did not talk this to the multitude and sat there, probably in samadhi or meditation. And when the chosen disciples approached him, he opened his mouth. And he has told there, they had 10 commandments of Moses. So he said there, I have come to fulfill, not to destroy. All those 10 rules will stand till the earth is there. And in that, what is the rule? A tooth for a tooth and a nail for a nail, eye for an eye. Then he would say, But I say unto you, that means to choose few chosen disciples only. You must mark this. So, and he said that those rules will not change. So in this case, what he has taught is not for general public. I do not go further into the topic. So hearing all this, so this topic is completed. Hearing all this, how a householder should live, how his energy is dissipated, how, a devotee, I find it is extremely difficult for a householder to realize God. How few people can lead the life you prescribe for them. You remember, Thakur taught this to Master Masha, and he is living that life. Was. But a sannyas, I haven't found any. Now, here one beautiful thing comes. Thakur has examples ready for everything. Master, why should that be so? You can lead a disciplined life as a householder. I have heard of a deputy magistrate named Pratap Singh. He has heard of him. He is a great man. He has many virtues, compassion and devotion to God. He meditates on God. Once he sent for me. Certainly there are people like him. From these two lessons I learned. One is that actually he knows one who leads householder's life and is progressing spiritually. In the sense he invited Thakur. He wanted to go further. I find here another uh, principle. Thakur does not always give the example of Rama did this, Sita did this, Vyasa did this, sannyasis did this. He gives the example of ordinary people who are on the right path. That is one additional point I find this. Now, he has given an example. So you cannot say no. But how? The practice of discipline is absolutely, it comes back to that. If you are a householder, if you want to realize God, you must do sadhana. Why shouldn't a man succeed if he practices sadhana? But he doesn't have to work hard if he has real faith. So sadhana, faith. If you have real faith, sadhana becomes smooth, very smooth. And if you don't have that faith, sadhana becomes a burden. Faith means faith in his Guru's words. Now he's showing the example of faith, or actually here it is real knowledge. Once Vyasa was about to cross the Jamuna, when the gopis also arrived there, wishing to go to the other side, but no ferry boat was in sight. They said to Vyasa, "Revered sir, what shall we do now?" "Don't worry," said Vyasa. "I will take you across, but I am very hungry. Have you anything for me to eat?" The gopis had plenty of milk, cream, and butter with them. Vyasa ate it all. Then the gopis asked, "Well, sir, what about crossing the river?" Vyasa stood on the bank of the Yamuna and said, O Yamuna, understand, these are goddesses. O Yamuna, if I have not eaten anything today, then may your waters part so that we may all walk to the other side. No sooner did the sage utter these words than the waters of the Yamuna parted. The gopis were speechless with wonder. He ate so much just now, they said to themselves, and he says, if I have not eaten anything. Vyasa had the firm conviction that it was not himself, but the Narayana who dwelt in his heart that had partaken of the food. Is he in the heart? हृदयमध्ये नारायण तिने खायचे. ओके. Shankaracharya was a Brahmajnani, to be sure. But at the beginning, he too had the feeling of differentiation. Important point is differentiation. He didn't have absolute faith that everything in the world is Brahman. Theoretically, he might know, but in practice, in the beginning, one day as he was coming out of the Ganges after his bath, he saw an untouchable, a butcher, carrying a load of meat. Inadvertently, the butcher touched his body, Shankaracharya's body. Shankara shouted angrily, "Hey there, how dare you touch me?" "Revered sir," said the butcher, "I have not touched you, nor have you touched me, real nature. The pure self cannot be the body, not the five elements, nor the 24 cosmic principles." Then Shankara came to his senses. One example. Once Jadabharata was carrying King Rahuguna's palanquin and at the same time giving a discourse on self-knowledge. Jadabharata. The story is like this. There was a king, and in old age he gave up his kingdom and lived on the bank of a river so that he could contemplate on God. One day he found that a she deer had fallen in that flow, and she gave birth to a baby deer, and that mother deer passed away. So the king saved that baby deer and he started looking after that to make it grow. And he got an attachment to that. So at the point of death, even he was thinking of that deer. After me, what it will do. So he had to take the birth of a deer. Now he had so much sadhana. So even as a deer, he remembered what had happened to him. Now that dear life was over. He was born as a Brahmin or in man's life, and there his name was Bharat. And he started behaving like a Jada man. That means not to get attached to anyone because he remembered all his past. That is the story. Now, King Rahuguna was going in a palanquin, and one of the palanquin bearers fell ill. So, seeing a robust man, they pulled him and put him to that chariot. What happened? Some ants were on the ground. So he started walking carefully so that not to injure those ants. So the palanquin started shaking. So the king shouted, "Why are you doing like this?" Then he gave him full discourse on Vedanta. Why you are doing like this? I don't want the creatures to be injured. That is the story. Huh? While Jadabharata was carrying King Raghunath's palanquin and at the same time giving a discourse on self-knowledge, the king got down from the palanquin and said to Jadabharata, "Who are you, pray?" The latter answered, "I am not this, not this. I am the pure self." He had perfect faith that he was the pure self. So for faith, he gave this example. Beginning of Shankar's life, later he became perfect. Jadabharata was already perfect, and so he gave this reply. I am he, I am the pure self. That is the conclusion of the Jnanis. But the Bhaktas say comparative makes people understand better. The whole universe is the glory of God. Why should Who should recognize a wealthy man without his power and riches? So God, because he has all the world. But it is quite different when God himself, gratified by the aspirant's devotion, says to him, "You are the same as myself." So bhakti leading to Advaita. The king is pleased and he says, "You sit with me. You are the same as myself." Suppose a king is seated in his court and his cook enters the hall, sits on the throne, and says, "O king, you and I are the same." People will certainly call him a madman. So, without the realization, if one thinks like that. But suppose one day the king, pleased with the cook's service, says to him, "Come, sit beside me." There is nothing wrong in that. There is no difference between you and me. The king is telling this. There, then if the cook sits on the throne with the king, there is no harm in it. It is not good for ordinary people to say, "I am he." So he is deriving like this. They are not jnanis, and yet they say, "I am he." It is wrong. The waves belong to the water. Does the water belong to the waves? Shankaracharya's one sutra is telling. Vishnu Stotra, Shatpadi. In that she says, "Satyapi Bheda Apagame, Nat Tavaham Namamastu, Samudrohi Taranga, Nacha Tarango Samudra." That means ocean belongs. Even though there is no difference, I am yours. I cannot say you are mine. Of course, the Bhakta does say that is a different thing. And example, ocean, the waves belong to the ocean. We cannot say the ocean belongs to the wave. So that is what Thakur is telling here. The waves belong to the water. Does the water belong to the wave? The upshot of the whole thing is that no matter what path you follow, yoga is impossible unless the mind becomes quiet. Yoga, progress in sadhana, is impossible unless the mind becomes quiet. The mind of a yogi is under his control. That is called the yogi, the man spiritually advanced. He is not under the control of his mind. We are under the control of the mind. When the mind is quiet, the prana stops functioning. Then one gets kumbhaka. Kumbhaka is a part of pranayama. You have to draw in, hold the breath there, and then exhale. So this holding of the breath because the all organs are under control, the yogi gets this kumbhaka. One may have the same kumbhaka through bhakti yoga as well. The prana stops functioning through love of God too. In the kirtan, the musician sings Nitai Amar Mata Hati. That means Nitai or Nityananda dances like a mad elephant. Repeating this, he goes into a spiritual mood and cannot sing the whole sentence. He simply says Hati Hati. When the mood deepens, he sings only Ha, Ha. Thus his prana stops through ecstasy and kumbhaka follows. So example, out of devotion, the kumbhaka has happened. He stops at Ha. Suppose a man is so many examples of kumbhaka due to some mental emotion. Suppose a man is sweeping a courtyard with his broom and another man comes and says to him, "Hello, so and so is no more. He is dead." Now, if the dead person was not related to the sweeper, the latter goes on with his work, remarking casually, that's too bad. He is dead. He was a good fellow. The sweeping goes on all the same. But if the dead man was his relative, then the broom drops from his hand. He exclaims, and he too drops to the ground. His prana has stopped functioning due to attachment to that man. He can neither work nor think. Haven't you noticed among women that if one of them looks at something or listens to something in speechless amazement, the other woman say to her, "What? Are you in ecstasy?" That means kumbhaka. In this instance too, the prana has stopped functioning and so she remains speechless with mouth agape. So, kumbhaka through various means. It will not do merely to repeat, "I am he, I am he." Now it's coming down upon the jnanis. It started somewhere as Thakur is talking to a jnani. There are certain signs of a jnani. Not saying I am a jnani. Example, Narendra has big protruding eyes. That is one of the signs of a jnani. Pointing to a devotee, he also has good eyes and forehead. You understand? Understand? If it was some devotee, Master Mahasaya could have named him. It is about Master Mahasaya himself. You see the broad forehead and eyes. Eagle eyes, Master Mahasaya's eyes. He never will tell that. He keeps quiet. He keeps hidden. All men are by no means on the same level. So that is another thing. Men are not equal. Many have this misunderstanding. In Chandigarh, Sikhs used to come to my discourse, and one of them said that all men are equal. And what the proof they give, the Sikhs, that blood of all men are red. I said blood of animals also is red. Secondly, the blood may be red, but DNA of every man is different. So simply by looking at he is a man and the blood is red, you cannot say they are all equal. All men are by no means on the same level. It is said that there are 4 classes of men: the bound, the struggling, the liberated, and the ever free. Thakur has told this previously also. It is also not a fact that all men have to practice spiritual discipline, because now he has talked of Nitya Siddhas. Some realize God after much spiritual austerity, and some are perfect from their very birth. Prahlada is an example of the ever free, never bound. Though he is born in the world, he is ever free. Eternally perfect sages like Prahlada also practice meditation and prayer, but they have realized the fruit, God vision, even before their spiritual practice. They are like gourds and pumpkins which grow fruit first and then flowers. So exceptions are there, godlike persons. Looking at Rakhal's father, we should remember Rakhal's father was there, Rakhal's father-in-law was there, and Thakur is telling all these things in front of them. Even though an eternally perfect soul is born in a low family, still he retains his innate perfection in his past life. He cannot do anything else. A pea germinating in a heap of cow dung still grows into a pea plant. People may think how he is like that. God has given to some greater power than to others. So there are differences in man. What appears as man, not same. In one man, you see it as the light of a lamp. In another, as the light of a torch. Light, but light of a lamp, light of a torch. One word of Vidyasagar's revealed to me the utmost limit of his intelligence. Straight away he's telling. When I told him of the different manifestation of God's power in different beings, he said to me, Sir, has God then given greater power to some than to others? I at once I said, Yes, certainly, he has. If there are not different degrees of manifestation of his power, then why should your name be known far and wide? You see, we have come to you after hearing of your knowledge and compassion. You haven't grown two horns, have you? We have not come to see some abnormal points. With all his fame and erudition, Vidyasagar said, such a childish thing as has God given greater power to some than to others. So very intelligent people many times are idiots. They cannot think other than what they think in their own mind. The truth is that when the fisherman draws his net, he first catches big fish like trout and carp, then he stirs up the mud with his foot and small fish come out, minnows, mudfish, and so on. So also, unless a man knows God, minnows and the like gradually come out from within him. When one, when can one achieve through mere scholarship? So that is a lesson. We now shift to Sunday, June 17, 1883. Sri Ramakrishna was resting in his room in the temple garden at Dakshineshwar. It was afternoon. Aghar and Emerald, we know both these people, and saluted the master. A tantric devotee also came in. Rakhal, Hazra, and Ramlal were staying with Sri Ramakrishna. Tantric devotee. Tantras are a school of thought, and their main tenet is that God is mother and respect every woman as mother. And in their practice, there are three stages: Pashvachar, Virachar, and Daivachar. In Pashvachar, to the beginner, they say, keep vigil, lead a Puritan's life. But to the Virachar, they say, you take all the enjoyments above you, but do not fall prey to them, because he is Veer. And to the Devi, there is no question of evil. So they said, now people practice more only of the Virachar. So Tantric sadhak, you understand now. A Tantric devotee also came in. Rakhal Hazra and Ramlal were staying with Sri Ramakrishna Master to the devotees. Why shouldn't one be able to attain spirituality, living the life of a householder? Same topic is going on. Last day's topic. But it is extremely difficult, agreed. Sages like Janaka enter the world after attaining knowledge, but still the world is a place of terror. Even a detached householder has to be careful. Once Janaka bent down his head at the sight of a Bhairavi, Tantric sannyasini. He shrank from seeing a woman. The Bhairavi said to him, Janaka, I see you have not yet attained knowledge. You still differentiate between man and woman. So, high state. If you move about in a room filled with soot, you will soil your body, however slightly, no matter how clever you may be. I have seen householder devotees filled with spiritual emotion while performing their daily worship, wearing their silk cloths. For daily worship, we use a separate cloth, generally silk. Because the silk cloth does not require washing every day, and without washed clothes, one should not do worship. They maintain that attitude even until they take their refreshments after the worship. But afterward, they become their old selves again. They display their Rajasic and Tamasic natures. So it comes back. Sattva begets bhakti. I think we should stop here. Simply reading will not do. This portion we will take up tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday, so on Thursday. Om Tava Kathāmritam Tapta Jivanam Kavivirīditam Kalmashāpam Shravanamangalam Shrimadattatam Bhuvi Grunanti Ye Bhurida Jana. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hare Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.